Nyam Nyam brings to you a mouth-watering treat of dessert bombs filled with watermelon and peach puree filling. All you need are 3 egg whites in a mixing bowl. Whisk them up slightly and add 100 grams of sugar, adding it a little bit at a time, whisking as you go, until you have a nice thick, silky mixture. We've done this twice, and in each bowl we're adding food colouring. We're adding 80 grams of icing sugar to each. Again, a little bit at a time, and this time we're mixing it with a spatula, making sure it's smooth with no lumps. Now we're going to put those in a piping bag, and we're going to line the inside of our piping bag with a little bit of black food colouring. Next, slightly spray the underside of a muffin tin with some oil, and we're going to swirl those around each underside. Bake at 150 degrees for 50 minutes. You'll need 2 trays for this, one for the yellow and one for the green. While those are in the oven, we're going to add watermelon juice, 300 millilitres, to a pot on the stove with 60 grams of sugar and a pinch of salt. When it's heated, we're going to add 50 grams of melted gelatin. Again, stirring that in. We're going to chill that for 30 minutes. Add some whipped cream to a mixing bowl and then spoon in our mixture. Add chocolate chips into that. We're using dark chocolate chips. And next, 40 grams of sugar, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and a pinch of salt go into a pot on the stove. We add 450 grams of peach puree. 2 tablespoons of lemon juice go into that. Then we add 50 grams of butter, which is going to just melt into that mixture. We chill that for 30 minutes, spoon in some whipped cream and add our peach puree. Now we have our 2 fillings ready, one for the green. We're going to put the pink mixture in that one with chocolate chips. And in the yellow, we're going to put our peach puree. Now you've noticed we've cut each of those in half so we can fill them. Add a sprig of mint on top. And voila, it's ready to serve. Crack on. Go on, dig in then. Delicious. Doesn't a chocolate dessert scream comfort? All you need is a chocolate cake, pre-baked earlier or bought ready-made from the store. We slice it up to make our layers. Now we're going to add chocolate buttercream, a generous serving of that spread over our cake. And the next layer goes on top. And repeat, and repeat. And now we're going to cover the entire outside of the cake with this delicious chocolate buttercream, smoothing it over, adding a few broken almonds around the edge. Now we're going to squeeze some Nutella through a piping bag all around the edge of our cake, letting it drip down the sides on purpose. Now we're going to cover the entire top of our cake with Nutella. I hope you are Nutella crazy like I am. Smoothing it over, making a nice swirly pattern with a spoon and exaggerating those drips down the side. There's a reason for this, which you'll find out in a minute. We want it to look like it's dripping and overflowing. Now we're going to add our Nutella jar, coated in almonds and some Ferrero Rocher. Look at that, it's a work of art. Too good to eat. It literally looks like the Nutella is falling out of the jar in a Nutella waterfall. Go on then, just a slice. Let's enter chocolate heaven. Delicious. Now, for our next recipe, we get the same chocolate cake, slicing it into layers. This time, in between each layer, we're going to add chocolate ganache. You can buy it ready-made again, or pre-make it yourself earlier. It's pretty simple, only requires a few ingredients. We're going to spread that over our cake, smoothing it out with a spatula and adding our next layer on top. And repeat. We're going to just smooth it around the outside. And finally, cover the top of our cake in chocolate ganache. So loads and loads of chocolate in both of these recipes, so I hope you like it. It takes a little bit of time to do this part, but it is worth it because it's going to be delicious when it's finished. Smoothing that over, we're adding our chocolate wafers all the way around the outside. They'll stick to the ganache, and chocolate balls, you can use Maltesers if you like, on the top of our cake. Look at that, sliced to perfection. Well, if you like zebras and you like cheesecake, then this is the dessert for you. You need some Oreo cookies and some milk to start with. We're going to use a fork to dunk our Oreo cookies in the milk. Now, one by one, these are going to be placed into our cake tin until we have completely covered the bottom. Now, time to make our cheesecake. We need 400 milliliters of whipping cream. Whisk that up till it thickens. We like to use an electric whisk because it saves a lot of time. In a separate bowl, we add 200 grams of cream cheese. Give that a little whisk too. And one by one, we'll add the ingredients. We're going to start with 50 grams of sugar. Each time, whisking it in. Next, 100 milliliters of sweetened condensed milk. You see, this is a very simple recipe to make. You really just need a few simple ingredients and add them in one by one, plus a dash of patience. When that's nicely blended together, we're going to add 100 milliliters of milk to that. So quite small measurements. And using electric whisk really will save you some time because we need to stir it well in between each ingredient that's been added. We're going to add our whipped cream to that now and whip it all up together. Finally, we add 10 grams of gelatine. That will help it to set later on. We're going to pour that into 2 separate bowls. And in one of the bowls, we're going to add a generous helping of red food colouring and 10 grams of cocoa powder. Stir that so it's all completely blended. It should look something like this when you've finished. Now we're going to, one by one, layer our white mousse and our red velvet mousse. And you'll see it will create a kind of tie-dye effect. If you like to be creative, this is the fun part. Now we can use a cocktail stick or a knife to form a beautiful pattern. Again, why not use your imagination? And there we have it. So all we need to do now is chill it for around 2 hours. For finishing touches, we're going to add a few dollops of whipped cream all around the edge of our cheesecake. Cream does go fantastically well with cheesecake. It just takes the edge off the sweetness. Add some chocolate flakes onto that whipped cream and some cherries. You can use strawberries, raspberries, any fruit you prefer. And there we have it, red velvet zebra cheesecake. Fancy a slice? Go on then. If you want to entertain your guests, you can't go wrong with a chocolate mousse. So, in a large mixing bowl, we add 450 milliliters of whipping cream. You can easily buy double cream from your local supermarket and whisk away until it's nice and light and fluffy. If you use an electric whisk, that would obviously save you some time. Now, we melt 200 grams of dark chocolate buttons and add 2 egg yolks, 50 grams of sugar and 30 milliliters of water to another bowl. Whisk that up nicely. Now we're going to put that over a pan of boiling water. While it's heating up, we're going to keep stirring it, keep whisking away till it's nice and glossy and starts to thicken. Once it's the desired consistency, we can remove it from the heat. And we're going to pour in our melted dark chocolate. Liking the look of this already. Now we're going to stir that up nicely. Obviously we want it to be very well mixed. You can use a hand whisk for this part. And all we need to do now is add our whipped cream to the mixture. We're going to add it in a dollop at a time and mix. Now, how chocolatey and how dark you want your mousse is entirely up to you. It depends on how rich you like it. We've made it a nice light mousse because we like it quite creamy. The choice is yours. So we're adding in our cream bit by bit, and it's all going in there, 450 millilitres of it. Time to give it one last stir. And voila, chocolate mousse. Now all we have to do is find a way to serve it. So we're going to add that to a food piping bag. We can experiment with the nozzles on these if we want to make different patterns. Let's melt some dark chocolate buttons. We're going to pour that into our silicone cupcake moulds. So we're going to pour that in to fill about 1/3 of our cupcake mould, and we're going to swish it around to cover the inside. Now you can see where we're going with this. This is going to make our chocolate cupcake moulds. Yes, so we're going to refrigerate those so they can set. Once they're set, we gently remove the silicone mould from the outside and we're left with an edible mousse cup. Delicious. So, time to add our mousse. We're going to use a straight nozzle for this one and swirl it around. And you can sprinkle decorations on top. We're using chocolate sprinkles here. And why not even add a little bit of fruit? How about a strawberry? Look at that, a party showstopper. Now, if you want to experiment, you can try using different shaped moulds. So we melt some more chocolate, and this time we're using heart shapes. That's right, why not celebrate your loved ones, or even for Valentine's Day? So exactly the same process. We're going to swish it around to cover the inside of our mould all the way up to the rim. Be very careful not to spill it over the edges. And then we refrigerate those so that they set. Gently remove our silicone heart moulds and we're left with just the chocolate ones. Let's use a different shape nozzle for this one. Being creative, you can really use any shape you like, whatever you think looks good really. Now let's use some heart sprinkles. Yes, why not add to the heart theme? And how about some different fruit? How about some raspberries this time? Look at that, perfect. So you can really go crazy with this idea. Every time just melting dark chocolate, filling your mould. How about even just using a plastic cup? We don't even need silicone moulds. If they're not easy for you to find and you don't have them kicking around the cupboard, you can just get a simple plastic cup. That's right. So going to take a bit longer here to make our mould because it's obviously much deeper than our cupcake holders. So in the same way, we're going to put those in the fridge to set the chocolate. Do you know how to get the chocolate out? Well, all you do is tip the cup upside down. Yes, it really is that simple. These are very deep, so we're going to use a very large nozzle on our food piping bag this time so we can fill them easily and quickly. You can really have fun with these. You can do any shapes you like. You can use any fruit you like. Let's add raspberries and blueberries. Give it a nice bit of colour. And there you have a delicious dessert in no time at all. Absolutely delicious, visually and taste. All you need is 200 millilitres of whipping cream and 50 millilitres of milk. Add that to a pot, bring it to the boil, and then we add 200 grams of dark chocolate buttons. You can use pieces or buttons, it doesn't really matter. We're going to stir this quite well. You won't feel so guilty about eating this very chocolatey dessert after all that stirring. So we add 1 egg, no need to whisk, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract to that, and mix it up nicely. And there we have it, our chocolate ganache. Ready to take off the stove, let it cool for a bit. Meanwhile, we're going to do our base to our pie. So we've got some homemade short crust pastry here. You can make it yourself, it's very easy, just a few ingredients. Or you can, if you're in a hurry and you've got your busy lifestyle, you can just buy pre-made short crust pastry from the store. So we're going to press that pastry down into our dish, making sure it's moulded in nicely, pressing all around the edges. And when that's done, we can remove the excess pastry, use that for a mini pie maybe later on. Right, now we're going to just get some air into the base, so in the cooking process it will help it to be right nice and crispy. Add some banana slices on top of that. And of course, our chocolate ganache. This has already got my mouth watering. Absolutely delicious. Now, that goes in the oven at 150 degrees for just 15 minutes. That's right, folks, it is super fast to cook this one. Once we've done that, we're going to add our chocolate pieces on top to create a checkered effect. Dark chocolate, milk chocolate, and of course, white chocolate. You might have to cut some of the pieces slightly to size to fit the circle shape. I'm creating our beautiful checkered effect all across the top. And that is going to go back in the oven, which we've left on for just 3 minutes to slightly melt the chocolate on top. And it's ready to tuck into. What's not to love? I absolutely love this cake. It's just bursting with colour and absolutely delicious. All you need is a basic chocolate cake. You can buy it ready-made from the supermarket or even pre-bake it yourself. We're going to fill it with buttercream chocolate flavoured icing. Then we're going to layer it a few times and cover the entire cake with our buttercream icing. We can use a nice piece of plastic to smooth it down along the sides and on the top. Now we're going to melt some dark chocolate buttons and we're going to pour that onto, yes, you saw right, it's bubble wrap. A fantastic and creative way of making a really cool pattern that has been cut to size to fit around the outside of our cake. So once that's set, we wrap it all the way around. And then it's time to carefully peel away the bubble wrap. And we're left with a beautiful, bubbly pattern on our chocolate. Some juicy strawberries, a sprinkling of blueberries, and some cherries, maybe even a few raspberries as well. We're going to fill the top of our cake with beautiful colours and some mint leaves for a touch of green. Look at that. Absolutely delicious. And it's a work of art. And it really was that easy. Cake, buttercream, bubble wrap, and berries. Super simple. Choco-berrylicious.